The soft life. Yes, I am.
By the way, this is just a film nerd or film someone that went to school for film. This will always bug me. Hold
Talking
on, where
about.
we at? White on white, and I know she got like outlines, but she could have at least put some uh a background on it to make it more legible and read. Because obviously she's wearing white and putting the white. I wish people would stop doing that. If you know that you have white on a white background, at least put some type of clear background on it so it can make make it a little bit more legible for your lower thirds or intros or something like that. That's just the nerd in me. So I'm sorry.
The soft life. Yes, I am. I'm trying to hone in on my soft life. And recently, this term was coined, and I feel it derived from Black women who are tired. We're tired. We are tired of doing everything by ourselves, especially Black women. We do everything. We hold everybody up. We single Black women, I have to do everything by myself. I have to do the things. I have to be the man and the woman, and it's exhausting. I don't know if you guys feel the way I feel, but I'm ready for the soft life.
Do you feel that way?
That it's exhausting?
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's exhausting, but yeah. Because the
Like
first,
exhausting in what sense? Working is exhausting?
yeah, it's
Or
like she could. Because I think what she was saying, like she feels like she has to do everything. She has to be the man and the woman, and she feels like she has to do everything, and it's exhausting. The first time step is Black women are tired.
yeah, I wouldn't say Black women are tired. To be honest, I think working is exhausting for anyone. No offense to the 9 to 5 ownership and all that other community and stuff. Just working in general, definitely exhausting. I don't think anybody in life woke up or when they was born was saying, "Oh, I can't wait to be a full-time worker." Like that's not something that everyone in life strive to be. Like we look forward to retirement. Everybody looks forward to retirement, the moment that they can just sit at home and not do nothing. You don't realize how great of a blessing it is to just where school is your only option, or like when you're like a kid and you don't really have
Hmm.
to work or anything like that. You're like, oh, it's so boring, and then you become an adult and you have to work and you have to like pay bills and um, manage your time and go to work and come home and cook, clean, then like, try to keep a social life. And the social life is the only thing that's keeping you afloat from like just laying in your bed 24/7 to a state of depression. So I don't think anybody in life is really just like, oh my gosh, I love working. Like everyone's trying to figure out ways to make money without working, without going to prison either. So when it says like everything else isn't exhausting, but working can sometimes feel exhausting because you have so many different personalities that you have to also take into consideration and also have to deal with. And so it kind of become exhausting. But you also don't want to be working and you don't talk to nobody. It's like you were working inside a cell. Like then I would feel like you was in prison. And messed upness that we have, like when you become like secluded and like to yourself and no one else is around and you like stuck and you can't get out, can't leave, can't do anything, you become like feel like you're in a cell block. Then we realize it's not. It's worse.
But let's continue the video.
Mhm.
And I feel like the soft life starts with us. We have to start hiring people to do some of these things to help us really tap into that soft life, because you will run yourself ragged trying to do your job and the job that a man should be doing. Okay. So let's get into it. Um, uh,
I do feel like she's coming from a single mother's perspective, though,
She
because I
is
feel like because
not
if
a
you're
single mother. She is coming from an exhausted person's perspective,
hmm
or she done had. She might low key still be a little bit broken. Like, don't argue, like, argue with your mother, don't argue with me. But she might low key be a little bit broken. Like, either her last relationship or whatever relationship she's currently in, either the man can't be doing his full part, because the way she said okay and looked down, it was like she was speaking to somebody. If the shoe fit, wear it, sir. That's exactly what that okay gave me. It's giving very much like I'm still a little bit triggered at the fact, the type of level of men that I've dealt with. Because these are things that they should have automatically, did, but they didn't. So it's not speaking from a single mother behavior. It's speaking from, I guess, exhaust. Like, she's just like she says, she's exhausted. She gonna feel like she should still be working, and she's not living bad. So from looking at this house that she in right now,
that's what I say. She had to work in the entertainment business though. So
but she feels like she's tired. She feel like she should be able to just stay home.
I found this quote by Zoe Saldana, and it really resonated with me. She said, "I like what I do. I like how I do it. I like my mistakes. I like the pace at which I learn from my mistakes. I don't want to be anybody else but me. And by knowing this, I want to continue figuring out who the fuck I am." Zoe Saldana. Okay, first of all, sis, me too. I'm trying to figure that out. But while I do that, I want to keep it cute and keep it soft. Listen, I feel like we can take it back to slavery, where the black woman had to keep the family lifted, had to hold everything down. The men would leave, the men would get killed. It was so many different things. And I think generationally, it has just been ingrained in us. This is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to hold it down while he's out working. You need to make sure the kids are good. You need to make sure the house is right. You need to also have a job. You need to birth the children. You need to make sure that they're raised up right. It's just so many things that fall into the place of being a woman, and it becomes too much, like way too much. And I think we are finally to the point where, like, y'all, we're tired. We are tired and we want help. That's what we.
Do you agree?
To be honest, I'm not even gonna pretend like I was paying attention to what she was talking about just now. All I heard was "we are tired." So a lot of the stuff she said before that, I kind of got lost. Like, I don't even know what I was thinking about. That's the sad part. But all I remember was she said "we are tired," and I was just like, what was she talking about?
She kind of took it back to slavery. She was like, when the men
Oh
were
yeah, I
out.
remember. I think that's where I got lost at, and I just stopped right at that. I was like, damn, why she want to take it that far back? and so I just missed everything in between, and I heard "we are tired" because I was just like, my brain was still processing, like, why are you going all the way that far back though?
Is slavery one of those terms where, like, you just blank out and then you like
I probably do, because to me, I just didn't understand why she wanted to take it that far back. Like, there was no reason. There's so many eras that we could talk about. I don't know. I understand how there was no soft life in slavery. Like, so, I'm so confused. That's why I'm like, how did you get there? Because last I checked, there was nothing soft in that era. Like, the woman was working just as hard on the cotton field as the man was.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she had to carry just as much load as the men. So she was real heavy. Like, I mean, muscle bound bodybuilder at that time. So how did you get there? Like, where was we ingrained to, like, take care of the family in that era? Because there was no option of just sitting at home while the husband went out to the cotton field and put in that work. And then when he came home, he brought in, like, 50 cents from his work to you, so you can, like, buy milk and, like, make rice and stuff like that. No, there was somebody who made food for everybody, which was the older generation. Once they've hit a period where being in the field was just impossible for them, then they became like the one that was in charge of making food for all of the slaves. But if you were young, you was in the field. There was no soft life at that period. So how did she get that?
I was gonna say that. You know, it's funny because I was gonna say the same thing. It was just like the women was out there too, but the men was out. It's like not like the men was not out there. We was out there, and then
Yeah. And the woman was getting beat just as hard as the men was getting beat with them damn whips in their back. It wasn't like, oh, only the men had scars on their back from the whips. There was women too. If you wasn't holding your weight in that era,
yeah,
you was gonna get that weight.
he was going to do it. Yeah, and I'm with you. She could have picked a different era. She could have picked the prohibition era. She could have picked
She could have picked
the antebellum era. You know, you could have picked Jim Crow. You know, some guy.
child, she could have picked Jim Crow era.
Because
Right.
that one, yeah. If you because the father was working, and sometimes the mother. And I've said that if you wasn't a nanny or a maid, you cook for the white woman, and then you go home and cook for the like. I know that.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
a lot of the black moms were at home. Like if their husband had a good enough job, they was at home. They was helping their kids and they was actively involved. Yeah, there was a few that did work, but it wasn't like it wasn't like, oh, they always working, or it's like they had like all of them had to work. Now it's like different where it's like a lot of percentage of the women have to work. It's not like, oh, but then again, back then people was getting married young too. So that we could say that we not, well, it was because they was married.
yeah,
It wasn't a bunch of boyfriend girlfriends living together back in the days.
yeah. They was getting married, jumping in. Matter of fact, even in slavery times, they was getting married.
Yeah, they was getting married young.
Yeah,
Because they was like, if you gotta work, I gotta work. I like the way you look. You like the way I look. Let's go ahead, jump the room, call it a day.
We are. And that's where the term soft life came from. For the past probably 7 to 8 years, really, yeah, 7 to 8 years, I have been doing everything by myself. Even when I dated for a few years between 2015 and 2017, I was still handling a lot of things on my own. And it wasn't until recently, because as women, and to a fault, we have felt like men weren't stepping up, so that we had to do it all ourselves. And then it became this whole, I'm independent, I don't need a man. So we go through that whole thing, which is a lie. We do need our men. And because that was ingrained in us, then it like pushed us to just go harder, and we became more and more and more successful, more independent. And probably subconsciously we were pushing men away from us. And so we kind of did it to ourselves, ladies, if you think about it.
Hold
But
on.
I wasn't.
See, that's the problem I have, where people like to create this victim mentality, and it irritates me because, first of all, I hate when people say it was ingrained in us that we didn't need a man, that we can do all these by ourselves. Blase, blase. I can't even think of a moment in life where my mom ever told me that I didn't need a man. That we can do it all by myself. You can do it all by yourself, David. Like, oh, you got this. You don't need to worry about a husband. Don't worry about this. Like, I'm just like, how is this ingrained? Like, if you really sit back and you listen to like how your parents, things that they were saying to you, and like when you were growing up as a kid, not once was they really, like, some parents, it might be different. I'm not gonna speak on everybody. But like when you really sit back and you really listen to like your parents, they wasn't talking about, oh, you don't need a man. They were saying, oh, you learn this in case, you should also know how to do this yourself. Um, Make sure, you know, if you go out on a date and the man can't afford it or he doesn't have it, make sure you have money also. Don't just sit there, look confused and you don't want to be somewhere and you ain't got no source of way of an exit plan. Or they'll be like, or they'll be like, go to school, get an education, learn, get a degree, focus on your school, don't focus on boys right now. But they wasn't saying, Oh, you can do it by yourself. You don't need no man. The problem is we've had to watch our parents and parents' parents or parents' parents or like your grandparents, their parents. They watched them be independent. They watched them do it by themselves. They seen how strong they was. They seen that they survived. They didn't see another man in the household or another woman in the household. They seen their dads do it all by themselves, or they seen their moms do it all by themselves. And then you've seen it for so long that you think it's normal. But you don't say, well, I don't want him, I don't need a man. But if a man ain't there, it's just not there. Like we're not gonna go find somebody just to randomly show up. Like it's just impossible. You can't find somebody that's random, that's just not there. But to keep throwing out this false narrative that it was ingrained in us, that that we are the problem, that we created this, like we created, like our parents transfer this trauma down to us by like telling us that this is what, like my mom never transferred that to me. I've watched her though, and I thought being independent was the right way to be. Like if you're with your husband or with your boyfriend, you also need to be independent so you're not draining him, exhausting him, bothering him. Leave him alone. Let him do what he needs to do.
I'm gonna try to find, but it was
With this
comedian named Yamanika Sanders, and it was actually on this one where she was having a conversation with Donnell Rawlings, and she was talking about how she thinks men should be wanted and not needed. And I feel like what I don't want to sift through it until I figure out where it was, but I'm gonna come back, not here. I'm gonna come back here. But in that podcast, she was talking about how like that you should be wanted and not needed. And I feel like, and I disagree with that, and Donnell Rawlings disagree with that. But I feel like that attitude, where because it's just like these women, those are the type of women that kind of woke up and did everything. Now, me, I have the privilege of being in a 2-parent household, so I've seen how a unit works. So I've had that under the wrap. So that's just, so, and growing up watching some sitcoms where you see a 2-parent household, like your Family Matters, and I know Rock, but Rock didn't even have kids. Matter of fact, it's not Good Time. I guess you can count Good Times, but even Good Times had some stuff where it's just like people felt like Florida held her back. But I've always think like people don't understand how a family unit move, except for like a few shows.
Mm-hmm.
So, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and fucking Family. But even then, it was just like it was more or less focused on the kids. You don't really see stuff on like how the husband and wife would move a unit. So I feel like now where shows are, you see a lot of women doing it to themselves, not doing it by themselves, and having to do everything on their own, not having a man unit there. I think that derives from people because it's just like, oh, mama could do it, I can too. Where I feel like we should be like, yo, you should find someone that both y'all can be compatible and work with together, like said, and then raise a family and to do things. So things like that.